It's that time again where we look at which is the best stocks and shares ISA in the UK for the year. This marks the 5th year in a row now I've created this in-depth comparison to help you pick the right provider. And each time I try and make it as helpful as I can by including as many providers and details as possible. This time we've got 12 of the top providers on the market. Picking the right ISA is an important decision. Rather than just showing you a few accounts like other comparisons do, I want to lay out all of the options on the table and guide you through the process of picking an account so you can make your own decision of who is the right platform for you, and more importantly, understand the logic behind why certain ones are better than others. We've had some interesting additions this year, which is always good for us. More competition means more competitive pricing and more features for us as users, which is great. I'll also let you know who I'm using for my ISA with over £150,000 invested in it. Okay, so first, I think most importantly is what's on the platform to buy, because it's not much good having an account where you can't buy what you need. This is split into two sections, so you've got individual stocks and funds, which are groups of stocks combined into one investment. Here's how the providers compare. First up is Hargreaves Lansdown, and they have over 8,000 stocks and 3,000 funds available to buy. Next, we've got Interactive Investor, which has 40,000 shares, which includes their funds. InvestEngine has over 770 exchange-traded funds, no shares as they're focused on exchange-traded funds. Trading 212 is a big name in the space and has over 12,000 shares, which includes their funds. There's AJ Bell with over 2,000 shares with funds included, and we also have Doddle, which is AJ Bell's newer platform, which has 80 stocks and 35 funds, which is really quite limited. Vanguard also has only 87 funds, which is all of the Vanguard ones, as it's the only funds they have on their platform and no stocks. XTB is a newer provider on the block this year, going big into their ISA offering, and they have over 3,000 stocks and 1,300 funds. There's Free Trade, which has 6,000 stocks with funds included, Interactive Brokers, who is more of a comprehensive provider with over 50,000 stocks and funds. Lightyear is another really interesting addition this year with the launch of their ISA and has over 5,000 combined. And another new but not new provider is IG with their latest offering, IG Invest, with 17,000 stocks and 5,400 funds. Now, those numbers probably look a little bit overwhelming, but don't worry. For 99% of us, all we're going to need to do is buy one or two exchange-traded funds every month for a low-risk long-term investment strategy. If you're planning to invest over trade, I believe that's the best strategy to go for. There's a few platforms here which will have more individual stocks suited to people who want to trade the stock market, but for the majority of us, all of these platforms have more than enough, likely with Doddle being the only questionable one in there. If you do trade stocks or you want to buy some, it's important to note you can also open multiple accounts for different purposes, which I'll touch more on later. Now, something that actually is really important here, possibly more than what's on the platform, is if they offer something called fractional investing. What this means is, let's take two examples. There's a stock of Tesla, which currently costs $290, and an ETF, let's take the Vanguard FTSE All World Fund, which currently costs £113.50. Without fractional investing, you'd have to buy an entire unit, or one share of each, at these prices, which is fine, but it's also pretty awkward. What fractional investing means is you can invest and own just a fraction of the share or the fund. So I can invest £5 or £10 into it, or whatever amount I want, without having to worry about having £113.50 to buy one unit at a time. This makes investing so much easier. So here are the platforms that offer it, and here are the ones that don't. The ones that do offer it here, in my opinion, have a huge advantage. It's worth noting that Lightyear is adding this soon, and it may well be here by the time you're watching this video. I will mention on that note is I've compiled all of these into a downloadable spreadsheet which you can grab for free in the description. So if you want to add in another provider you think I've missed, you can compare the fees for yourself. I do exclude some providers that I don't think are relevant or who try to invest for you, which I don't personally use, so I can't in good faith recommend to you. The spreadsheet also allows me to keep fees up to date for you when things change, which can happen throughout the year. Now, after knowing what's on the platform, the next most important thing to know is how much does it cost? There's a combination of three main things here which will cost you, and it's really important to know about each because they can add up. So Hargreaves Lansdown is going to charge you 0.45% of your portfolio for using the platform. This goes up to a maximum of £3.75 per month. To buy and sell, their trading fee is £11.95 per trade, which does go down in cost if you trade over 10 per month, which I really don't suggest doing here. One advantage is they do offer regular investing Investing, and the charge for this one is free. This is really important because it can really lower the cost of the platform if you buy one exchange traded fund and set up regular investing to buy it for free each month, and then pay the trading fee again when you come to sell it in, say, 20 years' time. This is important because it can really reduce the cost quite significantly, and it's what I do with my lifetime ISA to keep my costs down. Interactive Investor is similar. They change their pricing pretty much every year, and they're now charging $4.99 per month if you have under £50,000 invested, and $11.95 over 50k, and that's per month, which is quite expensive. You'll get one free trade with the $11.99 plan, but outside of that it's $3.99 per trade, and some trades are $9.99 each in international countries. They, similar to HL, do offer regular investing for free. Now, getting more simpler, both Invest Engine and Trading 212 charge £0 for platform fees, £0 for commission to buy and sell, and it's free to invest on a regular basis. Now, it's worth noting here, while it is free, other fees may still apply, like fund management fees or stamp duty or other nominal fees, which is standard that you will pay on any platform. Next is AJ Bell, which is slightly cheaper but more comparable to the first two. 0.25% platform fee at a max of £3.50 per month, and it's £5 to buy shares and £1.50 to do regular investing, which is more expensive. Now, this is where it gets quite interesting because AJ Bell has Doddle, and what I find funny here is it has somewhat lower fees, but they don't adapt this to their full platform as they want to keep people in historic, more expensive pricing. I think this will likely be a trend we'll see coming with a lot of the older providers, so they can keep people in more expensive services rather than transition them to low-cost option, and in essence lose their company money. So Doddle has a platform fee of 0.15%, which sounds good, but it's actually uncapped. So if you have a larger portfolio, that will get pricey quite quickly. For example, a £100,000 portfolio would incur a fee of £150 per year. On the plus side, it's free to buy and sell on there, which is good, as well as regular investing. Next is Vanguard, and this one always causes confusion, but this is a Vanguard platform rather than the Vanguard investment funds, which you can buy anywhere. For their ISA, they charge 0.15%, which scales up to a maximum of £375 for the year, or £31.25 per month. Granted, you'll need a good chunk in your account to hit that amount. It's actually £250,000, so a lot of people won't hit that, but it's important to be aware of, and it's worth noting here there's also now a minimum account charge of £4 per month, which has hit lower accounts more. There's no charge to buy and sell unless you want instant trading, which is £7.50 per trade. It's worth noting that a lot of the lower cost options will bundle their trades and trade once or twice per day to reduce their fees and stay lower cost, which I don't think is a problem if you are a long-term investor. Next is XTB, who do have some impressively low fees again. £0 for the platform fee, a £0 commission on trades as long as it's under, wait for it, €100,000 per month, which shows you the scale of their operation. I'm not sure about you, but I'm definitely under that. Regular investing is also free on here, making it another solid option. Now, next we have Freetrade, who have actually just been bought by IG for £160 million, which I don't think many investors in the company were too happy about. I was tempted to exclude this as they aren't my favourite platform, but I don't want my personal bias to affect your decision. And if I don't include them, I'll get a flood of comments asking where they are. So their platform fee is currently either £4.99 or £9.99 per month, which includes priority customer support, which I would recommend if you're going for the platform, knowing my past experience with customer support. It's free to buy and sell, and regular investing is also free, hence the name Freetrade. Next is a more complex platform, Interactive Brokers. This is definitely one of those for people looking for something quite advanced. Their platform fee is £3 per month for their ISA, and for trades it's £0 for ETFs, £3 for UK stocks, and it's $0.005 for US shares. Recurring buys will just cost you the same. Lightyear is another good low-cost option. I actually got the opportunity to visit their offices in London earlier this month, and the team there are really switched on. Their platform fees is £0, and to trade it's £1 for UK shares, 0.1% for US shares up to a maximum of $1, and €1 for European shares, and exchange traded funds, which I personally buy, are free. Regular investing again is the same fee wise. And last but not least, we've got IG Invest, which is £8 per month for the platform fee, which is billed quarterly, £3 per month to trade UK stocks, and it's free for US, European and Australian stocks. Now, what I will say here is fees are actually a really interesting topic because it's important that the platform makes money, and sometimes you do get what you pay for. For example, if you want some things like phone support, here's the providers that offer offer it, as well as the ones that offer live chat and email support. As you'll see, for the most part, it's the more expensive providers who make more money for fees so they can cover the cost. Personally, I'm fine with an email response to a query, and I rarely need to speak to someone, so it's not a big concern of mine, so I'm happy to go for a lower cost option. One fee you might need to watch out for though, which a lot of people overlook, is the foreign exchange fee. Here's how much each provider charges. This is a fee you'll pay when buying something in a foreign currency. It will apply to overseas shares like Apple or Microsoft. It doesn't apply if you're buying things in their own currency of pounds, so UK shares and ETFs don't need to pay it. So that's why you won't see it on some platforms like Invest Engine. So now you know what's on there and how much it costs, let's talk about the actual platform because it needs to be easy to use. Here's the platforms that offer a mobile app, and here's the ones that offer a desktop app. Some are much better than others here. Typically, the more historic providers like your HL and Interactive Investors and AJ Bell don't have the nicest looking apps and they're harder to use, whereas the more modern providers tend to be much better. Lightyear's app in particular is pretty beautiful, and honestly, it's really raising the standards of what we expect as investors, as well as Invest Engine and Trading 212's being really solid. IG Invest is also looking pretty slick with their new app. My background is in graphic and web design, so interface is hugely important to me. So here's my score out of 10 for each of the platforms. These scores also include usability, as some are really awkward to use compared to others. As well as usability, a really important thing is how safe is the platform to use. You'll be happy to know that all of the firms mentioned here are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority and the Financial Services Compensation Scheme of up to £85,000 protection here in the UK. I won't recommend any platforms that aren't. A really good gauge of how good a platform is the Trustpilot reviews. This does to some extent depend on how invested the company is in using Trustpilot, but all pretty much are these days. So here's the scores for each of them. Trading 212 has a crazy amount of reviews, over 46,000, which shows they're really heavily invested in getting reviews. Anything over a 4.5 score here is really good. I would say a couple of platforms like XTB, IG, and Interactive Brokers definitely suffer by being more comprehensive as platforms. Typically, beginners will find these apps a little bit more complicated to get their heads around, which at first can cause frustration. One thing I did notice while doing this compared to last year is Vanguard have been hammered. No surprise by them introducing a minimum account charge on their accounts of £4 per month, which went down like a lead balloon, as you can imagine. Another factor here is company age. Here's how old each company is. And you'll find that these generally split into two camps: your older, more historic providers and the newer, low-cost platforms, which are more up and coming. Given that they're all regulated though, you shouldn't have any issues with any of the platforms mentioned here. Now, there are a couple of exceptions here, because in a similar way that AJ Bell have Doddle, their newer platform, IG has IG Invest, and XTB have their newer investor offering. So you essentially are getting a new low-cost platform, but you've got the backing of a historic company behind it. So these three actually sort of fall into both camps. Something you might want to consider, however, is access, which I think this year is more important than ever. What was a new trend in ISAs has now become quite a core feature, and it's whether your ISA is flexible or not. What this means is, let's say you have your traditional ISA allowance of £20,000 for the year, and you were lucky enough to fill it. If you decided you needed to withdraw £5,000, your ISA allowance has been used already. So the max you could have in your ISA this year would be £15,000, and you couldn't put that money back in. With a flexible ISA, you could put that money back in. Here's the providers whose ISAs are flexible, and it's worth noting which ones aren't. This is actually quite a big consideration because a big part of the ISA account is being able to access the money when you want to. So if an unexpected expense did come up, you can take money out and put it back in without worrying about losing your allowance, which is huge. Another small but somewhat important fact is if you can have multiple accounts on the same platform. So let's say you wanted to have your SIP, ISA, and Lifetime ISA in one place. Here's the providers that have each. This can be a consideration if it's important to you. The Lifetime ISA is quite limited in who offers the account, but a SIP and ISA in one place can be important. Currently, I use different providers for each, but it would be nice to have them in one place. I'll soon be consolidating my SIP and ISA into one provider. So they are really the core things you need to consider, but let me help you make it a bit easier through a process of elimination and how I select the better accounts out of the bunch. First off, Hargreaves Lansdown and Interactive Investor. They do have history on their side. They have some pros, but I find them unnecessarily hard to use and more expensive than the others. Same goes with AJ Bell. Personally, unless the age of the provider is really important to you, I don't see a point in paying more for them. Doddle is okay. It is limited as a platform. I really dislike that the 0.15% fee isn't capped, so it can be quite expensive, which I think is unnecessary, so I would also remove them. Free Trade, in my opinion, lacks customer support unless you go for the more expensive plan, and they seem a little bit all over the place. Selling at a loss and investors losing money I don't think is ideal, so it does raise some questions about the future of the company in my opinion. So I wouldn't be using them. Plus, they're more expensive than Trading 212, who offer a better service. Vanguard is okay. I've been with them some time and they're alright as a platform, but the one downside I've always had with them is just being limited to the Vanguard funds. I can buy the same exchange traded funds on Invest Engine and more with better features, a good app and no account fee. Then you've got a toss up between the more comprehensive platforms, which will suit some people who want more advanced features. You've got XTB, Interactive Brokers and IG. Interactive Brokers I've always found to be very complicated and I've been investing for 15 years. I still struggle to figure out how to use some things on there, and you really need the desktop trading app to use it, which I really think suits day traders more, which isn't what I do. With IG Invest, the new app looks super slick, but they do have an account fee of £8 per month, and it's more expensive to buy UK instruments than on XTB. So here I would pick XTB over the other two, although IG may be worth exploring as a new app does look good, and I know some people really like IG. So that really leaves me with 4 main options. In the past, I've done a tier list, but it becomes increasingly hard to create one because the answer is really, well, it depends. The really encouraging thing now is the rules have changed around ISAs in the UK, so you can open multiple ISAs in one tax year. And as most of these platforms offer you incentives to open an account like a welcome bonus or free shares, I would encourage you to sign up and give them all a go. It's really important that you like the app you use, and it will be personal preference. People like different apps for different reasons, and it's important you stay consistent and actually use the app you choose. So here's the top picks, and besides what I've mentioned so far, here's what I think makes each stand out. First, let's talk about Trading 212. The key standout here is just how cheap it is to buy and sell stocks, as well as ETFs here. For new investors looking to explore the stock market, this is really one of the easiest accounts to use. You can easily see how your portfolio is performing, and they offer a really nice rate on uninvested cash. It's currently 4.5%, but it can change, so always check the latest rate. You can easily search for stocks to buy and see the most traded stocks, and buying is really simple. You can even set things like limit and stop orders if you want to be a bit more complex. You've still got all of the most popular ETFs on there, like the S&P 500 and the Vanguard All World Fund, as well as other providers. So you'll find pretty much anything you want to buy on here. A really unique feature is their trading pies, which are collections of investments. One of mine is a growth pie where I hold the magnificent 7 stocks. What I can do within here is set percentages of a pie and then easily rebalance them. So say I wanted 5 stocks at 20% each, I could easily do that. As you can see here is how much you would buy and sell if I wanted to do that. This is really easy for managing your portfolio, and you can set up recurring payments to invest directly into these pies too. The really interesting thing is how they also now offer a card which you can link up to your phone and spend money directly from your account, as well as an option to automatically invest spare change into a pie, which is quite unique. They also have communities within there and a social side of the app, which I would take with a pinch of salt, as well as other people's pies. Some will be made by professionals, but others could be made by, well, anyone, so always do your own research. Trading 212 have one of the most generous bonus schemes where you can get a free fractional share worth up to £100 when you invest just £1, which is really generous. To take advantage of that, you can use code Chris when you sign up or use the link in the description. I'll pop all of the links down below to make sure you get them. Just double check you use my code or the link, as sometimes people wonder why it hasn't gone through and they haven't got their bonuses, so just be careful. Next up, let's talk about where I've got my ISA, Invest Engine. The difference between Invest Engine and Trading 212 is the fact Invest Engine is an ETF platform and it doesn't have individual shares. My goal is low-cost long-term investing, which is why I opt for these instead of individual stocks, as statistically I believe it's a much more reliable approach and has given me much better returns and is fully hands-off. You can buy ETFs on Trading 212 in fairness, but I prefer it because it has something called the Portfolio Look-Through tool. So for example, my ISA has £156,000 in it at the moment, but if I go go into my analytics, I can see how much I've got in each country by pound amount. And also, more importantly, I can go into holdings and see how much I've got in each individual company. For example, I've got £5,200 in Nvidia, 4,100 in Amazon, and 2,100 in Tesla, and so on. I can also sort this more specifically by country and sector, so I can see, for example, what Japanese tech companies I have. The cool thing about this is it lets me feel like I own these individual companies while actually owning really safe, reliable index funds, which is by far my favorite feature, and I probably wouldn't move anywhere else unless somewhere had this. On top of that, it's ridiculously easy to use. It's easy to find the right ETF you want to buy, and you can filter by provider. There's all the main ones in there, and I can also filter by types, so equities, and sort them. I've set something up in there called a savings plan, and I auto invest, so it automatically invests me each month, £500 at the moment, and I can easily see my returns and the points I bought. I've got two investments here which I set to specific percentages, 90% in one and 10% in another, as part of my two-fund strategy, but I can easily rebalance these in one click if I ever need to. I've recently just done this, so it is on track, but it's a really neat feature to have. And I can also set my savings plan to automatically invest into them set percentages. This is really my go-to ISA I recommend for most people starting. They currently have an impressive transfer bonus on ISAs where you get up to £4,000. This also applies if you top up this amount into your SIP, so I'd definitely check that out. With Invest Engine, you can get a welcome bonus of up to £100 when you use my link down below. It's investengine.com/Chris Palmer, or you can use code Chris when you sign up. Next up is XTB, which I think is a really interesting app worth trying this year. Their new investor app is really clean and simple, and here's how it looks. A really nice feature in here is their investment plans, where you can easily go in, pick your investments, see their ratings and risk score and 5-year returns. You can add them to your portfolio and set percentages, how much you want to go into each, and create a plan. This app will definitely suit people who want more advanced features. Their charts are more what you would expect on a trading app, and their news is very good quality. Their research team is usually ranked by Bloomberg as having one of the most accurate forecasts against most of the big banks and investment firms, which shows how well ranked their research team of analysis is, especially in comparisons to others in the same space, which I think is a huge plus of using the platform. This is a really clean app from them, and it's nice to see others moving to the ISA landscape to make it more competitive. They currently have quite an impressive boosted offer on interest. They've got a boosted interest rate of 6.5%, boosted from 2% on their base of 4.5% for all existing and new customers for 90 days on their uninvested funds, and I'll pop a link to them down below. The offer may be changing throughout the year, and as it does, I will pop details in the description down below. Another one I'm super excited about this year is Lightyear. Now, Lightyear actually came on my radar a couple of years ago, and I was super excited about their launch, but there was no ISA at the time. Since then, they've been working hard, and they're now regulated by the FCA, and they have their ISA open. It doesn't take much to see. They're one of the nicest looking apps out there design-wise, and you can easily explore stocks and funds, browse by categories and countries, and it's really a nice experience to use. What I really like is inside each stock, you can see much more detailed financials than in other apps, including things like analyst ratings, which are huge, and price targets. You'd often get these with paid stock tracking software, so for free, it's pretty crazy. They have vaults on there where you can store cash. I've currently got my money in there getting 4.61%, but of course this can change, so check the latest rates. Overall, this app is incredibly easy to use, and the fact ETFs are free to buy is a huge plus. So if you want a really well designed app that's simple to use, this could be a really good one, especially when they get fractional shares added, which could be soon if not already. With Lightyear, you can sign up for an account and receive $15 worth of a US fractional share when you use this link, or you can enter code Chris in the promotions section. So you're essentially getting a free fractional share just for checking them out. So I'd really recommend doing it, as it will be one to watch this year to see what's to come. So again, here are the bonuses for each of the providers, so you can take advantage of the free shares or bonuses. Although I'm currently using Invest Engine for the bulk of my portfolio, I do also use Trading 212 for stocks, and I'll be testing out the other apps this year. It's really not a one-size-fits-all approach. Some people love Trading 212, some people prefer Invest Engine, and some people might want a more detailed platform or analyst ratings. Like I say, it's really about picking who you actually like and who you will use the most. So test them all out, get yourself some free bonuses in the meantime, and if you want to take a deeper dive into my portfolio, I've done a detailed breakdown here where I share all of the accounts I'm using. I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you over there. Thanks.